When Li Wei opened his eyes on a cold winter morning, he realized his life had collapsed around him like a fallen dynasty. The job he had once been proud of was gone. The small savings he had built over the years had evaporated. His family, tired of watching him struggle with depression and self-doubt, had stopped believing he would ever rise again. He felt like the ruins of the once powerful Han Dynasty, once strong, now broken, waiting for someone to rebuild it. But the worst part was not the money he had lost. It was the belief that he had lost in himself. For weeks, he barely got out of bed. He felt forgotten, invisible, irrelevant. Some days, he asked himself if there was even a point in trying anymore. Yet, in the silence of his room, he remembered something his grandfather used to say. When a dynasty falls, it does not end. It transforms. That sentence echoed inside him. It didn't fix everything. But it made him stand up. Not confidently. Not with energy. But he stood. That was day one of his rise. The first step, small actions. Li Wei didn't try to rebuild his whole life at once. He did not set massive goals. He did not declare he would become successful in a month. He simply made his bed. Start small, he whispered to himself. Next, he walked for 10 minutes. Then he wrote one page in a notebook where he tracked his feelings, something he had never done before. These actions were tiny, almost laughable. But they were his version of the first bricks laid during the Zhou dynasty, simple foundations that would later support entire philosophical traditions. He did not feel proud. But for the first time in months, he felt in motion. The internal battle. Li Wei's biggest enemy was not poverty, nor failure, nor other people's judgment. It was the voice in his mind. You always fail. You're too late. No one believes in you. Why bother trying? Every day, that voice tried to pull him back into bed, into darkness, into the past he desperately wanted to escape. Some days, the voice won. Some days, he stayed in bed for hours, staring at the ceiling, wondering why he even bothered. But what changed everything was a quote he read one night while studying the history of ancient China. The Qin dynasty unified China not because it was perfect, but because it was relentless. Relentless. Not perfect. Li Wei repeated that word again and again. He realized he didn't need to win every day. He just needed to keep returning, like dynasties rise again after collapse. So he built routines, small, sustainable ones. 10 push-ups. 15 minutes of learning a new skill online. Reading 5 pages of a book. Walking every evening. Not much. But consistent. Unexpected setbacks. Life, like history, does not move in straight lines. Just when Li Wei started to feel a little stronger, setbacks struck. He applied for jobs, 30 of them, and got rejected from all. His landlord raised rent. His mother fell sick, and he spent many nights in the hospital instead of resting. The little progress he had made felt like it was crumbling. One night, he broke down completely. He cried until he could not breathe. His chest hurt. His eyes burned. Maybe I'm not meant to rise, he whispered to the empty room. But then he remembered something from ancient China's history. Even the great Tang dynasty faced rebellions, droughts, and internal chaos. Yet it rebuilt itself stronger every time. Maybe that was how life worked. Setbacks were not signs to stop, they were tests to see who deserved to keep going. Li Wei wiped his tears. He took a deep breath. He opened his notebook and wrote only one sentence. I will rise, even if I rise slowly. The transformation begins. Weeks turned into months. His habits grew stronger, almost automatic. He woke up early. He exercised. He studied. He applied for jobs and improved his skills daily. He saved every tiny bit of money he could. He felt his mind becoming sharper and calmer, like the scholars of the Song dynasty who transformed China through knowledge and discipline. People around him began to notice change. You look different. You seem more focused. You're improving. But Li Wei knew the truth. He wasn't improving because life got easier. He was improving because he stopped surrendering. Slowly, opportunities started appearing. A small freelance project. A part-time job. A mentor who saw potential in him. Nothing extraordinary. But for Li Wei, these were signs that his new dynasty was forming. The true test. Then came the moment that almost destroyed him again. He had been interviewing for a position he desperately wanted, a job that aligned with his new skills, a job that could turn his life around. He made it through every stage. And then? He received an email. "We regret to inform you." He froze. His chest tightened. His vision blurred. It felt like history repeating, a dynasty collapsing again. For 2 days, he disappeared into silence. He felt the old darkness crawling back. He wanted to quit everything. But on the 3rd day, he went for a walk and saw a small plant growing between 2 stones on the sidewalk. Weak, fragile, almost invisible. Yet it was growing. And he realized something. That plant doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It grows wherever it can. In that moment, he finally understood. Strength is not built in success. Strength is built every time you refuse to stay down. Suddenly, the rejection didn't seem like an ending. It felt like a redirection. He returned home, opened his laptop, and began applying for more jobs, twice as many as before. He updated his portfolio. He practiced interviews. He networked with people online. He pushed harder, not because things were easier, but because he was stronger. The rise. 2 months later, he received a phone call that changed everything. A company he applied to weeks earlier wanted to offer him a position, better pay, better environment, better growth opportunities. They had been impressed not just by his skills, but by his consistency and adaptability. Li Wei accepted the job, but what mattered to him more was what it represented. Proof that he was no longer the broken man from months ago. Proof that he could rise beyond circumstances. Proof that he had rebuilt his dynasty from the ground up. His life slowly stabilized. He saved money. He supported his mother's medical treatment. He improved himself continuously. And every night, he wrote in his notebook, this time not about pain, but about gratitude and growth. His realization. One evening, as he stood by his window watching the sunset, a thought washed over him. I didn't rise because life became kind. I rose because I refused to give up. He realized something powerful. Life is like ancient China's dynasties, full of rises and falls. Failure is not final. Pain is not permanent. Nothing ends unless you decide to stop trying. He understood that every small, consistent action he had taken, every walk, every page read, every minute spent learning, had reshaped his destiny. Not quickly. Not dramatically. But persistently. And persistence, he realized, is the strongest force in the world. Stronger than fear. Stronger than failure. Stronger than doubt. Final message. Li Wei's story is not just his own. It is the story of every person who has felt broken, lost, or forgotten. The story of anyone who thinks they've fallen too far to rise again. Remember this. You are a dynasty. You may fall, but you can rise again, stronger, wiser, and more determined. Your progress may be slow. Your setbacks may feel endless. Your path may be harder than others. But if you take small steps consistently, if you refuse to give up, if you decide that your rise is not optional but inevitable, then nothing can stop you. Not failure. Not rejection. Not circumstances. Not even time. Keep going. Your dynasty is waiting to rise.